Good and fair evening, my friends. Welcome back to the tavern. I just realized that the music wasn't playing through. What's up with that? Hang on. Well, that's not right. Hang on a second. This should be
The branches breathes them in song.
okay. Well, there now it's playing. All right, guys. I didn't mean to leave you without any sort of musica. That's my fault. Okay, get you back up. Get you back up. Oh, soft and low coming in. There we are. Yeah, it was loud. I apologize. Maddie needs wiener bread. We have no wiener bread in stock, sadly. Also, somebody decided he was going to camp in my chair, so I decided to force him to stay here until we started. Because he was just camping out here on my chair like he owned the place. Having himself a little nap. And now he's going to try and escape. I did see that you sent me a message on Discord, Frost. I didn't get to it. Jody, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. All right, you can go. You can go. All right, let's see all who we've got Milu for 19 months in a row. Look at that. Go ahead and pop that again. Oh, I need to get my ears on. Hang on. Can't hear a damn thing going on. This cat's been a menace all day. Con, hello, good to see you. Welcome in. All right. Let's see. Okay. I'll give it a look as soon as story time is over. I got a job offer today. Hey, congratulations, Jody. That's excellent. I'm proud of you. I'm glad to hear it. Let's see who's all in. We've got Milu, we've got the Frostbeard, we've got Captain Hoodie, we've got Jody, we have the Bear, we have Erin, we have Tyson, and of course I think Matty is in as well. Yep, there's Matty. All right. Exceptional, and we have Teresa in over on the YouTube portal. Welcome in. We've got Chatty Lynn Duncan, hello, welcome in, good to see you. Brand new into the tavern, well, welcome to your first time joining us for story time. It's a little bit different than what you see in my short story times. The community chooses a book, and then we read that book through to the end. Not entirely in one sitting, but tonight is our family-friendly night, and we are in Eragon. We're a little bit more than halfway through. So welcome, we're glad to have you. Grab a seat, pull it up. We'll be starting here shortly. Oh, Teresa's also over on the other place. What's the other place? Twitch. There we go. A professional, I know how to do this. I'm 19 months now, you're seriously stuck with me? I guess I'll have to deal with it. Mozart! I just did a video about your friend Beethoven the other day. Welcome in, some mead. As much as you like. Grab a seat and settle in. Twitch notified me that it's been 3 years since I became a mod. I feel the need to celebrate. I need to clear the chat to commemorate the day. So, Destiny, I'm gonna let you do it. But I want to clarify for everybody real quick. the reason why Destiny says she wants to clear the chat in celebration, immediately after she was given barkeep status over on Twitch, she clicked the shield icon, which cleared the chat and banned everybody from chat. She did this seconds after she was given the ability to do so. So, in celebration of 3 years as a barkeeper, yes, I'm going to allow you to entirely nuke the chat. Hang on, I want to make sure, somebody else had said something to me, I want to make sure I get it. Karn also has good news, and it was, I'm getting hired by one of my dream companies, and I'll be starting at the end of July. Congratulations, Stephen, it's good to hear. Alright, everybody. No, she did on Twitch, this happened on Twitch. Chef Vanilla Gorilla, hello and welcome in. Mozart. Let's grab a drink, settle in, settle down. Alright. So on the count of 3, Destiny, you can enable shield mode and wipe out everything in chat. No, so basically what will happen, she's going to wipe out everything in chat, and then once shield mode is disabled, everybody will be allowed to come back in and do what they were doing before. She'll press it early by accident. Alright, here we go. Songbird, hello, welcome in. Alright, Destiny, on my mark. 3, 2, 1. And it's going to be delayed by a little bit. There we go. Everybody who's not a mod just got nuked out of chat. Alright, go ahead, turn it back off. Actually, what's funny is because most of you are moderators now. Because most of you are moderators now. it didn't actually nuke the entire chat because a lot of the regulars are mods now over on Twitch. So. Oh, that's very funny. Songbird, thank you for the heart me. I appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. And the Go Popular, thank you very much. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and turn this off. If I can. How do I turn? Oh, there we go. I'm gonna turn shield mode off. That's very funny. Okay, back to what we no. Hang on, no, it knocked. Hang on, what? Oh, it opened a new window. All right, there we go. And we are back. Molly, hello, welcome in. All right. Let's see. Well, everyone. I only approve a certain number of mods every 6 months. So I said most of the regulars had become mods. You have to be in the Discord, an active member of the guild community, and then meaning you have to post at least once a week. Because if you don't, then the bots automatically remove mod status from you. But if you've been a part of the community for a long time, you can apply to be a mod. Anybody who's been here longer than a year can apply to be a mod. Yeah. So anybody who has been here for over a year can apply to be a mod. You have to agree to, follow all of the terms and conditions. Over in Discord, we'll be taking on more mods in September. Colin. Because again, I do it every 6 months. We just did one 2 months ago, so 6 months will. Your on-screen chat isn't rolling. A bunch of stuff it wasn't working when I got in, so let's see. Yeah, that's true, it's not working. Let's see what happened. Yeah, I think we have quite a few barkeeps as it is. Let's see, chat box. Huh, that's weird. Oh, how strange. Hang on a second. Hang on. What the heck? Hang on, guys. Hang on. There's what? Okay, I'm not 100% sure what's going on. Georgia, hello, welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Welcome, welcome. What? Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not working. That's so strange. It's probably the cat's fault. Oh, so you're working the late shift, Con? That's what my brother's always preferred the late shift. I have too. Cassie, hello, welcome in. I don't remember if I told you all that we have two kittens now, Gizmo and Tigger, formerly known as Percy. You have not, but that's absolutely exceptional. Guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix this. I might. I don't think it's going to let me fix it unless I shut everything down. So we're just not going to have. We're not going to have a chat box today, sadly. I raided Crypt as you saw the stream 10 seconds later. Oh, that's alright. That's alright, Aaron. Sharing the laugh, it's perfectly alright. Joker, hello, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. How was your weekend? Did you manage to get your drink and your book? A shadow tabby. I don't know if I've ever heard the term shadow tabby before. They are now fixing pipes outside. Virgil, well, the chat won't take over the world if it don't work. That's true, Virgil. That's true. uh, yeah, it's been well, and a bunch of the stuff was not working at all earlier today. So, alright, well, I need to get a spoon. Taco Bell forgot my spork in my order. Unforgivable. Unforgivable. How could they forget to give you your spork? Like, it's the only place in the world you can get a spork is from Taco Bell. And they refuse to give you one. Bastards. From me, bastards. Young Hansel. Hey bro, good to see you streaming. How you getting on? I'm doing alright. How are you? Getting ready to start story time over here. Pint Goblin, hello! I decided to stop because I've missed a few. Well, that's alright. You're here now, and that's what matters. His stripes only appear in certain situations, like him stretched out in a bright light. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Milo is quickly becoming the next felon of the house. He's stolen some pieces of the ladies' collectibles and hidden them somewhere, and I don't know where they are. He also knocked the air conditioning remote off of the dresser, stole the batteries, ran off with the damn batteries. It's a little little felon. I mean, he was guilty of many misdemeanors before, but now I'm finding felonies, and he's slowly falling in the rankings of things that have earned my love. Sweet, I made it, and you should see the view I got to go with it. Well, fire away, Seamus. It's good to see you, Wilhelmine. He keeps, so first of all, I found places that he's been stealth peeing. That's a problem. Second of all, he's been stealing pieces of the ladies' collectibles and hiding them somewhere. And also, he knocked a remote off of the dresser, stole the batteries, and hid them. My work schedule changed, but I'll be sure to watch everything on YouTube. Pint Goblin, I appreciate you for the support. Thank you for the love. I'm going to fall asleep to your voice tonight, Castle. Con, I hope that you rest well, my friend, and I hope you rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day, brother. I just looked at my stats. Oh, the stealth pit? Yeah. He's a cat. He's right here, actually. I'll pick him up. He's right here staring outside. And we're going to stop stealth peeing, and we're going to stop stealing Mom's collectibles, right? She has, for any of you that know Freerun, Darth Nexus, thank you for the Go Popular and the Heartbeat, my friend. And Songbird, thank you for the community heart and the shot of hope. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated, my friends. And so she has two little Freerun statues that sit on her desk. One is Freerun, one is Himmel, from the anime Freerun Beyond Journey's End. And they have little flower crowns that came with them. He keeps stealing the flower crowns, and now he's run off with them somewhere, and we have no idea where they are.
I found one.
Where, you found Himmel's or hers?
I found Freeman's.
So he's run off with Himmel's then.
Found me under something.
You need to stop stealing things, you little bastard, to start with, and stop stealth peeing on things. Okay? Alright, you're free to go. Get out of here. He is a pureblood Bengal, and he's got about 2 whole brain cells he's working with. So I must go to bed, but I'll keep watching Slongerpole. Good night, Pines Goblin. It's always lovely to have you, my friend. Rest well. Clifford, hello. Good to see you. I had 6 max viewers at a time, going up. Up is where you want to go. No, they're not made of real flowers. They're little plastic things. Because they're statues from the anime Freerun. Gizmo just saw Milo on my phone and touched her nose to the screen. Ah, that's adorable. Absolutely adorable. Okay, friends over on Twitch, we're gonna run our ads real quick. If you're new on Twitch, we have to do this. Twitch requires us to, but we're gonna do 3 minutes of ads and it'll give us an hour without them, and then immediately when they're done, I'll get straight into the storytelling. So here we go. 3 minutes and you'll be right back. We appreciate you for your patience with the platform, and then we will return. She's the calico. Calicos are absolutely adorable, but they can be menaces. Slan de hair.
Lanyards. That is.
There are no lanyards. You know
I
what's
didn't want to do the expense anymore, even though it costs an arm and a leg to get in there.
you know what's crazy is that I think I just threw away all of my old lanyards from shows.
I know. That's I just don't know where. Need to figure it out.
Friend of mine has the same problem with her cat. They love causing mischief for her by trying to get into her display cases with all her anime figures. Yeah, Milo loves to get into cabinets. He loves to get into cabinets and closets. And he'll just pick up. He'll become obsessed with like little random things, and he has dozens of toys. He is the typical cat. He has dozens of toys, but he will pick up something that is completely not a toy and run off with it. And it's usually something either expensive or dangerous. Cat, stop it. Speaking of the idiot. And he's obsessed with the snake. He wants to go toe to toe with the snake. It's not gonna happen, but he wants to. And I'm sorry, Jody, I forgot to raise the glass. Jody buys a round for the tavern. Everyone raise your glass to Jody's new job offer. May it bring you much coin and many maidens, as they say. Note that I said many and not many. You don't want a bunch of tiny maidens, you want many maidens. Yeah, very typical cat of him. Which is annoying because Boo is very much not a typical cat. Boo is very much like a lazy, I'm just gonna sleep all the time and then be sort of a dog other times, with a few moments of cat here and there. But Milo is absolutely the epitome of the dumb cat. And he has a few moments of brilliance, like he caught a rat a little while back. We have no idea where that came from or how he got it, but he caught a rat. But for the most part, he just does very dumb things. Thank you, Frost. I appreciate you. What about tiny maidens? No, I said may Jody get much coin and many maidens in her new job, but not tiny ones. Regular sized ones, or whatever size you fancy, but many of them. All right, friends, we're gonna get right back into Eragon. It has been some time. It's been almost 2 weeks since we've been in Algasia. So it should be exciting to get back in. When we last left off, Braum had been severely injured by their encounter with the Razak. And now they're trying to nurse him back to health. And Eragon has a friend now. I don't remember what the friend's name was. Oh, Murtaugh. That's right, Murtaugh. I'm actually going to have to hop off and get to bed. Early mornings and all that jazz. I'll leave the stream up though. That's all right, Dove. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Happy third modiversary to you. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope you and the boys have a good day tomorrow. Make sure you give hugs and kisses to everybody from all of us. All right, Legacy of a Rider. Wake up, Eragon. He stirred and groaned. I need your help. Something is wrong. Eragon tried to ignore the voice and returned to sleep. Arise. Go away, he grumbled. Eragon! A bellow rang in the cave and he bolted upright. Fumbling for his bow, Saphira was crouched over Brom, who had rolled off the ledge and was thrashing on the cave floor. His face was contorted in a grimace, his fists were clenched. Eragon rushed over, fearing the worst. Help me hold him down. He's going to hurt himself, he cried to Murtaugh, clasping both of Brom's arms. His sides burned sharply as the old man spasmed. Together, they restrained Brom until the convulsions ceased. Then they carefully returned him to the ledge. Eragon touched Brom's forehead. The skin was so hot that the heat could be felt an inch away. Give me water and a cloth, he said worriedly. Murtaugh brought them, and Eragon gently bathed Brom's face, trying to cool him down. With the cave quiet again, he noticed the sun shining outside. How long did we sleep? He asked Saphira. Good while. I've been watching Brom for most of that time. He was fine until a minute ago when he started thrashing. I woke you once he fell on the floor. He stretched and winced as his ribs twinged painfully. A hand suddenly gripped his shoulder. Brom's eyes snapped open and fixed a glassy stare on Eragon. You! He gasped. Bring me the wineskin! Brom! Exclaimed Eragon, pleased to hear him talk. You shouldn't drink wine, it'll only make it worse. Bring it, boy! Just bring it! Sighed Brom, and his hand slipped off Eragon's shoulder. I'll be right back. Hold on. Eragon dashed to the saddlebags and rummaged through them frantically. I can't find it, he cried, looking around desperately. Here, take mine, said Murtaugh, holding out a leather skin. Eragon grabbed it and returned to Brom. I have the wine, he said, kneeling. Murtaugh retreated to the cave's mouth so that they could have privacy. Brom's next words were faint and indistinct. Good. He moved his arm weakly. Now, wash my right hand with it. What? Eragon started to ask. No questions. I haven't time. Mystified, Eragon unstoppered the wineskin and poured the liquid onto Brom's palm. He rubbed it into the old man's skin, spreading it around the fingers and over the back of the hand. More! Croaked Brom. Eragon splashed wine onto his hand again and scrubbed vigorously as a brown dye floated off of Brom's palm, then stopped, his mouth agape with amazement. There, on Brom's palm, was the Gedwe Ignacia. You're a rider? He asked incredulously. A painful smile flickered on Brom's face. Once upon a time, that was true, but no more. When I was young, younger than you are now, I was chosen by the riders to join their ranks. While they trained me, I became friends with another apprentice. Morzan, before he was a forsworn. Eragon gasped. That had been over 100 years ago. But then he betrayed us, to Calpatorix. In the fighting at Toru Arabia, Forengard City, my young dragon was killed. Her name was Saphira. Why didn't you tell me this before? Asked Eragon softly. Brom laughed. Because there was no need to. He stopped. His breathing was labored and his hands were clenched. I am old, Eragon. So old. Though my dragon was killed, my life has been longer than most. You don't know what it is to reach my age, look back, and realize that you don't remember much of it. Then to look forward and know that many years still lie ahead of you. After all this time, I still grieve for my Saphira, and I hate Galbatorix for what he tore from me. His feverish eyes drooled into Eragon, and he said fiercely, Don't let that happen to you. Don't. Guard Saphira with your life, for without her, it's hardly worth living. You shouldn't talk like this. Nothing's going to happen to her, said Eragon, worried. Brom turned his head to the side. Perhaps I'm rambling. He gazed past blindly over Murtaugh. Then he focused on Eragon. Brom's voice grew stronger. Eragon, I cannot last much longer. This is a grievous wound. It saps my strength. I have not the energy to fight it. Before I go, will you take my blessing? Everything will be all right, said Eragon, tears in his eyes. You don't have to do this. It is the way of things. I must. Will you take my blessing? Eragon bowed his head and nodded, overcome. Brom placed a trembling hand on his brow. Then I give it to you. May the coming years bring you great happiness. He motioned for Eragon to bend closer. Very quietly, he whispered 7 words from the ancient language. Then, even more softly, told him what they meant. That is all I can give you. Use them only in great need. Brom blindly turned his eyes to the ceiling. And now, he murmured, for the greatest adventure of all. Weeping, Eragon held his hand, comforting him as best he could. His vigil was unwavering and steadfast, unbroken by food or drink. As the long hours passed, a grey pallor crept over Brom, and his eyes slowly dimmed. His hands grew icy, and the air around him took on an evil humour. Powerless to help, Eragon could only watch as the Razak's wound took its toll. The evening hours were young and the shadows were long when Brom suddenly stiffened. Eragon called his name and cried for Murtaugh's help, but they could do nothing. As a barren silence dampened the air, Brom locked his eyes with Eragon's. Then contentment spread across the old man's face, and a whisper of breath escaped his lips. And so it was that Brom, the storyteller, died. With shaking fingers, Eragon closed Brom's eyes and stood. Saphira raised her head behind him, and roared mournfully at the sky, keening her lamentation. Tears rolled down Eragon's cheek as a sense of horrible loss bled through him. Haltingly, he said, We have to bury him. We might be seen, warned Murtaugh. I don't care. Murtaugh hesitated, then bore Brom's body out of the cave, along with his sword and staff. Saphira followed them to the top. Eragon said thickly, Saphira followed them to the top, Eragon said thickly, indicating the crown of the sandstone hill. We can't dig a grave out of stone, objected Murtaugh. I can do it. Eragon climbed onto the smooth hilltop, struggling because of his ribs, and there Murtaugh lay Brom on the stone. Eragon wiped his eyes and fixed his gaze on the sandstone. Gesturing with his hands, he said, Moya Stenna. The stone rippled and flowed like water, forming a body-length depression in the hilltop. Moulding the sandstone like wet clay, he raised a high walls around it. They laid Brom inside the unfinished sandstone vault with his staff and sword. Stepping back, Eragon again shaped the stone with magic. It joined over Brom's motionless face and flowed upward into a tall, faceted smile. As a final tribute, Eragon set runes into the stone. Here lies Brom, who was a dragon rider, like a father to me. May his name live on in glory. Then he bowed his head and mourned freely. He stood like a living statue until evening, when light faded from the land. That night, he dreamed of the imprisoned woman again. He could tell that something was wrong with her. Her breathing was irregular, and she shook. Whether from cold or pain, he did not know. In the semi-darkness of the cell, the only thing clearly illuminated was her hand, which hung over the cot, and a dark liquid dripped from the tips of her fingers. Eragon knew it was blood. The dog is snoring so loud he's blowing his lips too. That's very funny. Dave, hello and welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Tim, hello, my friend. Thank you kindly for the super chat. I appreciate you. Tips to the Tavern Keeper always appreciated. First question is, where's the Sforza video? Second is, I'm so excited for Action Man returning as G.I. Joe, as a G.I. Joe fig. And have you got to watch the Action Man from '95? It's on YouTube for free. I watched Action Man way back in the day when it first came out, like ages ago. Check the pinned message. Let's see, what is it? I'm trying because I don't think you saw it, Castle. I don't know if Una told you. I'm going to visit one of my cousins on the weekend, so I ordered. Oh, this is from Bear. Oh, excellent, Bear. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You're probably the #1 purchaser of the festival's book, so far. And Marty wants to see the dog. I'll show him. Esther, hello. We hope you're doing well and your furry friends are thriving. Do we all? Milo's in a bit of hot water because he's being a brat, but otherwise everyone's pretty good. And yes, we have finally made it to a stream. Just got off with a 12-hour shift. Lovely to see you. Seek the Visceral. It's lovely to have you. If you've never been in before, I'm sure you know who I am, but I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. Every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. This is what we're doing tonight. We are in the midst of Eragon. We just finished the chapter, which, spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen it, we just finished the chapter where Brom passes from his wounds with Razak. A very emotional chapter. Let's go ahead and get Matty his... Dog might not be able to get over here, actually. It's kind of crowded because I'm still cleaning. Just... Coda, come here. Yep, come on. Come creep in. Come in. Come here. I know. Up. Come say hi. Up. Get up here. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. Oh. There he is. There's the tavern hound, as it were. Such a good lad. Oh my gosh, your claws are so sharp. Need to trim your claws there, buddy. No, probably about it. Castle, have I missed much? You missed one chapter, but not terribly much. Oh, you missed the passing of Brom, as I say. But otherwise, we are just in the beginning throes of all this, so you are just on time to join us, Esther, as a matter of fact. At this point, Bear is almost as big a distributor of the book as Amazon is. All right, we're good there, and we're good there. Is Coda hard to keep white? No, not terribly. He's kind of a lazy dog, so he doesn't do a whole lot outside. He is stinky. He sweats a lot, which is just a husky thing. He's got a husky's musk to him. He is beautiful. He is a beautiful dog. All of the animals in the house are pretty animals. Come here. See, you got Milo right here. He's handsome. Look at him. Look at his glory. He's also huge. Look at him. He's a unit. Look how massive this cat is. Because I'm a wide lad and he's bigger than me. We just weighed him before and I think he's almost 13 pounds. He's massive. And then Boo is also a very lovely cat. He's very handsome. They're all beautiful, which is good because none of them are smart. None of them are smart. Milo constantly runs into things. Boo constantly falls over things. Milo constantly falls over things. I think amongst the three of them, they probably have 4 brain cells, and all 4 brain cells are fighting for 5th place. $100%, Milu, 100%, I would. I could just start sending him the ones that I buy. Because we price them so low that we don't really make anything off of them. So if I gave a discount on any of the books, I'd have to pay Bear to take them. Which at this point, I mean, I might as well, right? He's bought so many, and just pay him back for it. He is a big, beautiful boy. They do say cats are smart. I don't know who said that or where the data came from. But these 2 cats are neither smart nor independent. If the lady does not lay down at the end of the day, they will sit on the edge of things and stare at her, just completely confused, with no idea what to do. They are completely aimless if they don't get to have their nighttime snuggles. Yeah, I just need to send surplus to Bear so that he can sell them wholesale. Cats are highly intelligent. I think cats are highly instinctual. Cats have very prone instincts. But intelligence, like with people, is per animal. Like, Koda is very well trained. He understands commands in 2 languages, and he listens very well. He's not very smart. He's not a very smart dog. Tigger is almost 3 pounds and Gizmo's 2.5. Right. Cats, again, animals and people. It's on a per basis, I think. Per basis. And I didn't mean a pun there. My cat's owners say cats are smart and independent. Most cat owners just say cats are smart and independent. I think they might just be comparing it to people in their lives, and that's why. They're like, oh, look, my cat fed itself, and other people in their life can't feed themselves. So, I think that's where it comes from. Randy, hello, Slarsha, welcome in. Obsidian, my tuxedo is very smart. Tilly, my tortoiseshell is not. Yeah. No, all but 2 of them were gifts, and the 2 that weren't gifts, I keep one at my mom's and one at home. See, so I need to send Bear a whole supply so that he can make sure they get all around Australia. Yeah. And I've worked with a lot of animals and with a lot of people, and if there's one thing that I can be absolutely certain of, it's that intelligence is on an individual basis. There are no groups of intelligent people. There are no groups of intelligent animals. It's on an individual merit, I'd say. I worked with high schoolers, and high schoolers are supposed to be smarter than middle schoolers. And I work with middle schoolers. There's not much of a difference. Not unless it's on an individual basis. You find some smart high schoolers and some smart middle schoolers. And they're usually the same kinds of people, too. They're the kinds that are, like, very curious. And that's the interesting thing, is that most intelligent people you meet are curious people. Interestingly enough, in animals... Well, it's okay to generalize about this group being smart, because everyone in this group is smart and showers regularly. We know that, Bobby. So everyone in here is smart and they smell very good. That's what we know. Interestingly, animals that are curious, bless you, my love. Animals that are curious tend to be not very smart and they fall off of things. Intelligence is literally based off it. Well, in almost by definition, it is. By definition, in order to be intelligent, you have to desire to be intelligent. Then you have to go out of your way to be intelligent, which requires, you being critical of yourself, allowing other people to be critical of you, being able to take instruction, being able to take criticism. Those are all very important aspects of being intelligent, and a lot of people fall short of that. With the kittens, it depends on the day whether they're smart or silly. Well, they're still little. It's the same thing with kids, right? Like some days kids are super smart, and then other days they get their hands stuck in a toilet, right? So it's by day for children. One of my cats is blind, and the other one is just a thief. They trick me every time. They work as a pair. See, that might be a smart pair of cats. All right, let's get back into the story for now, friends. We are on. I think we're all the way up to like chapter 32 or something. We're quite a ways through. We're a little bit more than half. We are on Diamond 2. When Eragon woke, his eyes were gritty, his body was stiff. The cave was empty except for the horses. The litter was gone, no sign of Brom remained. He walked to the entrance and sat on the pitted sandstone. So the witch Angela was correct. There was a death in my future, he thought, staring bleakly at the land. The topaz sun brought a desert heat to the early morning. Boo, stop it. He sits right there and stares at me to see if I'm looking, and starts scratching on the arm of the couch, and then as soon as I say something, he stops. Just constantly pushing his limits. All right. A tear slid down his listless face and evaporated in the sunlight, leaving a salty crust on his skin. He closed his eyes and absorbed the warmth, emptying his mind. With his fingernails, he aimlessly scratched the sandstone. When he looked, he saw he had written, "Why me?" He was still there when Murtaugh climbed up to the cave carrying a pair of rabbits. Without a word, he seated himself by Eragon. "How are you?" he asked. "Very ill." Murtaugh considered him thoughtfully. "Will you recover?" Eragon shrugged. After a few minutes of reflections, Murtaugh said, "I dislike asking this at such a time, but I must know. Is your Brom the Brom? The one who helped to steal a dragon egg from the king, chased it across the empire, and killed Morzan in a duel? I heard you say his name, and I read the inscription you put on his grave. But I must know for certain. Was that he?" "It was," said Eragon softly. A troubled expression settled on Murtaugh's face. "How do you know all that? You talk about things that are secret to most. And you were trailing the Razak right when we needed help. Are you one of the Varden?" Murtaugh's eyes became inscrutable orbs. "I'm running away, like you." There was a restrained sorrow in his words. "I do not belong to either the Vard nor the Empire, nor do I owe my allegiance to any man but myself. As for my rescuing you, I will admit, I've heard whispered tales of a new rider, and reasoned that by following the Razak, I might discover if they were true." "I thought you wanted to kill the Razak," said Eragon. Murtaugh smiled grimly. "I do, but if I had, I never would have met you." "But Brom would still be alive, and I wish he were here. He would know whether to trust Murtaugh." Eragon remembered how Brom had sensed Trevor's intentions indirect, and wondered if he could do the same with Murtaugh. He reached for Murtaugh's consciousness, but his probe abruptly ran into an iron-hard wall, which he tried to circumvent. Murtaugh's entire mind was fortified. How did he learn to do that? Brom said few people, if any, could keep others out of their minds without training. So who is Murtaugh to have this ability? Pensive and lonely, Eragon said, "Where is Saphira?" "I don't know," said Murtaugh. "She followed me for a time when I went hunting, then flew off on her own. I haven't seen her since before noon." Eragon rocked onto his feet and returned to the cave. Murtaugh followed. "What are you going to do now?" "I'm not sure. And I don't want to think about it either." He rolled up his blankets and tied them to Cadoc's saddlebags. His ribs hurt. Murtaugh went to prepare the rabbits. As Eragon shifted things in his bags, he uncovered Zarok. The red sheath glinted brightly, and he took out the sword, weighed it in his hands. He'd never carried Zarok nor used it in combat, except when he and Brom had sparred, because he had not wanted people to see it. That concerned Eragon no more. The Razak had seemed surprised and frightened by the sword. That was more than enough reason for him to wear it. With a shudder, he pulled off his bow and belted on Zarok. From this moment on, I'll live by the sword. I'll let the whole world see what I am. I have no fear. I am a rider now, fully and completely. He sorted through Brom's bags, but found only curlos and a few odd items. Small pouch of coins. Eragon took the map of Allegasia and put the bags away, then crouched by the fire. Murtaugh's eyes narrowed as he looked up from the rabbit he was skinning. "The sword, may I see?" he asked, wiping his hands. Eragon hesitated, reluctant to relinquish the weapon for even a moment, then nodded. Murtaugh examined the symbol on the blade intently, and his face darkened. "Where did you get this?" "Brom gave it to me." "Why?" Murtaugh shoved the sword back and crossed his arms angrily. He was breathing hard. "A sword," he said with emotion, "was once as well known as its owner. The last rider to carry it was Morzan, a brutal, savage man. I thought you were a foe of the Empire, yet here I find you bearing a Forsworn's bloody swords." Eragon stared at Zarok with shock. He realized that Brom must have taken it from Morzan after they fought at Gilead. "Brom never told me where it came from," he said truthfully. "I had no idea it was Morzan's." "He never told you?" asked Murtaugh, a note of disbelief in his voice. Eragon shook his head. "That's strange. There's no reason for him to conceal it." "I can think of no reason for him to have concealed it." "Neither can I. But then he kept many secrets," said Eragon. It felt unsettling to hold the sword of a man who had betrayed the riders to Galbatorix. This blade probably killed many riders in its time, he thought with revulsion. And worse, dragons. "Even so, I'm going to carry it. I don't have a sword of my own, and until such time as I get one, I'll use Zarok." Murtaugh flinched as Eragon said the name. "It's your choice," he said, and returned to skinning, keeping his gaze focused downwards. When the meal was ready, Eragon ate slowly, though he was quite hungry. The hot food made him feel better. As they scraped out their bowls, he said, "I have to sell my horse." "Why not Brom's?" asked Murtaugh. He seemed to have gotten over his bad temper. "So far. Because Brom promised to take care of him. Since he isn't around, I'll do it for him." Murtaugh set his bowl on his lap. If that's what you want, I'm sure you could find a buyer in some town or village. I'm sure we could find a buyer in some town or village. Kitty, hello! Long time no see. Thank you for the heart me and the wink wink. I love this series. Read it 2 times already. Love, love. Well, I'm glad to see you. I'm glad you dropped in. Tips to the Tavern Keeper also always appreciated. Welcome, welcome. Berkey, hello, my dear friend. Please acknowledge the greatness of Messi and Argentina. By the way, Argentina cheers for Scotland. I presume you're talking about the World Cup. I don't keep up with sports, but I know that the World Cup is going on right now, and of course I know who Messi is. Messi's a legend. But yeah, I presume that they did well. Patrick Dobbins, hello from the state of Washington. Well, welcome in, Patrick. So very glad you could join us. You're just in time for the middle of story time, but you know you're here in time to get some of it. Cat, stop it. All right, where was I? Should probably take a drink since I've stopped. Had to get my kiddo to bed. I tried to get here soon. Oh, that's quite all right. It's good to see you. 3-0. What a legend. Yeah, that is a legendary score. And I hope that you enjoyed the festivities. I completely forgot to finish answering Tim's question earlier. Tim, the Sforza video has not come out yet because we had a different series that came up that it was a part of. The Sforza video should be coming out in the summer. It got delayed because of other things that had to come out. And sometimes we plan videos 3 to 6 months in advance. I know the Sforza video has been on the docket for a while, but we should have the Katarina Sforza video coming out in August or September. It got pushed way off because we decided to start doing series and it just didn't fit into any of the series that we were doing. But I love the video, so I'm not gonna not do it. It's still gonna come out. So Messi scored all 3 goals in the 3-0. That's incredible. That actually is legendary. Things happen. Yes, they do. We asked Eragon. Murtaugh looked at him sideways in a calculating way. You won't want to stay here for much longer if the Razak are nearby. Brahm's tomb will be like a beacon for them. Eragon had no thought of that. And your ribs are going to take time to heal. I know you can defend yourself with magic, but you need a champion who can lift things and use a sword. I'm asking to travel with you, at least for the time being. But I must warn you, the Empire is searching for me. There'll be blood over it eventually. Eragon laughed weakly and found himself crying because it hurt so much. Once his breath was back, he said, I don't care if an entire army is searching for you. You're right, I do need help. I would be glad to have you along, though I'll have to talk to Saphira about it. But I have to warn you, Galbatorix just might send an entire army after me. And you won't be any safer with Saphira and me than if you were on your own. I know that, said Murtaugh with a quick grin. But all the same, you won't stop me. Good. Eragon smiled with gratitude. While they spoke, Saphira crawled back into the cave and greeted Eragon. She was glad to see him, but there was a deep sadness in her thoughts and words. She laid her big blue head on the floor and asked, Are you well again? Not quite. I miss the old one. As do I. I never suspected that he was a rider. Brom. He really was an old man, as old as the Forsworn. Everything he taught me about magic he must have learned from the riders themselves. Saphira shifted slightly. I knew what he was from the moment he touched me at your farm. And you didn't tell me. Why? He asked me not to, she said simply. So this is one of the plot holes in Eragon that bothers me, is that supposedly dragons are super, super loyal to their riders. But Saphira lies to Eragon multiple times at the behest of Brom. So that's the one bit of writing in here that always bothered me, is that there's supposed to be like this undeniable trust between riders and the dragons, but then Brom talks her into lying to him multiple times. I don't know. I don't know about that. Eragon decided not to make an issue of it, thank goodness. Saphira never meant to hurt him. Brom kept more than that secret, he told her. Then he explained about Zarok and Murtor's reaction to it. I understand now why Brom didn't explain Zarok's origins when he gave it to me. If he had, I probably would have run away from him at the first opportunity. You would do well to rid yourself of that sword, she said with distaste. I know it's a peerless weapon, but you would be better off with a normal blade, rather than Morzan's butchery tool. Perhaps. Saphira, where does our path go from here? Murtar offered to come with us. I don't know his past, but he seems honest enough. Should we go to the Varden now? Only I don't know how to find them. Brom never told us. He told me, said Saphira. Eragon grew angry. Why did he trust you, but not me? With all this knowledge? Her scales rustled over the dry rocks as she stood above him, eyes profound. After we left Tayem, and we were attacked by the Urgles, he told me many things, some of which I will not speak unless necessary. He was concerned about his own death, and what would happen to you after it. One fact he imparted to me was the name of a man, Dormanot, who lives in Gilead. He can help us to find the Varden. Brom also wanted you to know that of all the people in Alagasia, he believed you were the best suited to inherit the rider's legacy. Tears welled in Eragon's eyes. This was the highest praise he could have ever received from Brom. A responsibility I will bear honourably. Good. We will go to Gilead then, stated Eragon, strength and purpose returning to him. And what of Murtor? Do you think he should come with us? We owe him our lives, said Saphira. But even if that weren't so, he has seen both you and me. We should keep him close so he doesn't furnish the Empire with our location and descriptions, willingly or not. He agreed with her and then told Saphira about his dream. What I saw disturbed me. I feel that time is running out for her. Something dreadful is going to happen soon. She's in mortal danger, I'm sure of it. But I don't know how to find her. She could be anywhere. What does your heart say? Asked Saphira. My heart died a while back, said Eragon with a hint of black humour. However, I think we should go north to Gilead. With any luck, one of the towns or cities along our path is where that woman is being held. I'm afraid that my next dream of her will show a grave. I couldn't stand that. Why? I'm not sure, he said, shrugging. It's just that when I see her, I feel as if she's precious and shouldn't be lost. It's very strange. Saphira opened her long mouth and laughed silently, fangs gleaming. What is it? Snapped Eragon. She shook her head and quietly padded away. Eragon grumbled to himself, then told Murtor what they had decided. Murtor said, If you find this Dormnut, and then continue to the Varden, I will leave you. Countering the Varden would be dangerous for me, as walking into Urubayan, unarmed, with a fanfare of trumpets to announce my arrival. We won't have to part any time soon, said Eragon. It's a long way to Gilead. His voice cracked slightly, and he squinted at the sun to distract himself. We should leave before the day grows any older. Are you strong enough to travel? Asked Murtaugh, frowning. I have to do something or I'll go crazy, said Eragon brusquely. Sparring, practicing magic, or sitting around twiddling my thumbs aren't good options right now, so I'll choose to ride. They doused the fire and packed and led the horses out of the cave. Eragon handed Cardox and Snowfire's reins to Murtaugh, saying, Go on, I'll be right down. Murtaugh began the slow descent from the cave. Eragon struggled up to the sandstone, resting when his side made it impossible to breathe. And then, when he reached the top, he found Saphira already there. They stood together before Brom's grave and paid their last respects. I can't believe he's gone. Forever. As Eragon turned to depart, Saphira snaked out her long neck to touch the tomb with the tip of her nose. Her sides vibrated with a low humming as it filled the air. The sandstone around her nose shimmered like gilded dew, turning clear with dancing silver highlights. Eragon watched and wondered as tendrils of white diamond twisted over the tomb surface in a web of priceless filigree. Sparkling shadows were cast on the ground, reflecting splashes of brilliant color that shifted dazzlingly as the sandstone continued to change. With a satisfied snort, Saphira stepped back and examined her handiwork. The sculpted sandstone mausoleum of moments before had been transformed into sparkling gemstone vault, under which Brom's untouched face was visible. Eragon gazed with a yearning at the old man, who seemed to only be sleeping. What did you do? He asked, Saphira with awe. I gave him the only gift I could. Now time will not ravage him. He can rest in peace for eternity. Thank you. Eragon put a hand on her side, and they left together. Cyanide Cutie, one of my favorite series, is one of mine as well. This is one of the first books I chose for myself when I was a young man, and I've always had a soft spot for it. My heart died a while back too. I have to step away for a few. I'll be back as soon as I can. That's all right, Frost. Go do what you need to do, brother. All right. Let's see. How long until we have to run ads? 15 minutes. We can probably squeeze in a bit more before then. This next chapter is not terribly long, but yeah, we'll get as much in before we run ads again over on the Twitch portal. Captured at Gilead. Riding was extremely painful for Eragon. His broken ribs prevented him from going faster than a walk, and it was impossible for him to breathe deeply without a burst of agony. Nevertheless, he refused to stop. Saphira flew close by, her mind linked with his for solace and strength. Murtaugh rode confidently beside Caddock, flowing smoothly with his horse's movements. Eragon watched the grey animal for a while. You have a beautiful horse. What's his name? Tornak, after the man who taught me how to fight. Murtaugh patted his horse's side. He was given to me when he was just a foal. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more courageous and intelligent animal in all of Algasia. Saphira accepted, of course. He is a magnificent beast, said Eragon admiringly. Murtaugh laughed. Yes, but Snowfire was close to as much as I've ever seen. They covered only a short distance that day, yet Eragon was glad to be on the move again. It kept his mind off other, more morbid matters. They were riding through unsettled lands. The road to Drasleonia was several leagues to their left, and they would skirt the city by a wide margin on the way to Gilead, which was almost as far north as Carver Hall. They sold Caddock in a small village. As the horse was led away by his new owner, Eragon regretfully pocketed the few coins he had gained from the transaction. It was difficult to relinquish Caddock. After crossing half of Allegasia and outracing Urgles on him, the days rolled by unnoticed by their small group. As their small group travelled in isolation, Eragon was pleased to find that he and Murtaugh shared many of the same interests. They spent hours debating the finer points of archery and hunting. There was one subject, however, they avoided discussing by unspoken consent: their pasts. Eragon did not explain how he had found Saphira, met Brom, or where they came from. Murtaugh, likewise, was mute as to why the Empire was chasing him. It was a simple arrangement, but it worked. Yet, because of their proximity, it was inevitable that they learned about each other. Eragon was intrigued by Murtaugh's familiarity with the power struggles and politics within the Empire. He seemed to know what every noble and courtier was doing and how it affected everyone else. Eragon listened carefully, suspicions whirling through his mind. The first week went by without any sign of the Razak, which allayed some of Eragon's fears. Even so, they still kept watches at night. Eragon had expected to encounter Urgles on the way to Gilead, but they found no trace of them. I thought these remote places would be teeming with monsters, he mused. Still, I'm not one to complain if they've gone elsewhere. He dreamed of the woman no more, and though he tried to scry her, he saw only an empty cell. Whenever they passed a town or a city, he checked to see if it had a jail. If it did, he would disguise himself and visit it. But she was not to be found. His disguises became increasingly elaborate as he saw notices featuring his name and description, and offering a substantial reward for his capture, posted in various towns. Their travels north forced them upward toward the capital, Urubain. It was a heavily populated area, which made it difficult to escape notice. Soldiers patrolling the roads and guarded the bridges. It took them several tense and irritable days to skirt the capital. Once they were safely past Urubain, they found themselves on the edge of a vast plain. It was the same one Eragon had crossed after leaving the Palancar Valley, except now he was on the opposite side. They kept the perimeter of the plain and continued following the Ramah River. Eragon's 16th birthday came and went during this time. At Carver Hall, a celebration would have been held for his entrance into manhood, but in the wilderness he did not even mention it to Murtaugh. At nearly 6 months of age, Saphira was much larger. Her wings were massive, and every inch of them needed to lift her muscular body and thick bones. And fangs jutted from her jaw were nearly as thick around as Eragon's fists, and their points as sharp as Zadok. The day finally came when Eragon unwrapped his side for the last time. His ribs had healed completely, leaving only a small scar where the Razak's boot had cut his side. As Saphira watched, he stretched slowly, then with increasing vigor when there was no pain. He flexed his muscles, pleased. In an earlier time he would have smiled, but after Brom's death, such expressions did not come easily. He tugged his tunic on and walked back to the small fire they had made. Murtaugh sat next to it whittling a piece of wood. Eragon drew Zadok, and Murtaugh tensed, though his face remained calm. "Now that I'm strong enough, would you like to spar?" asked Eragon. Murtaugh tossed the wood to the side. "With sharpened swords, we'd kill each other." "Here, give me a sword," said Eragon, and Murtaugh hesitated, and then he handed over his long hand-and-a-half sword. Eragon blocked the edges with magic, the way Braum had taught him. While Murtaugh examined the blade, Eragon said, "I can undo it once we're finished." Murtaugh checked the balance of his sword. Satisfied, he said, "It will do." Eragon safed Zadok, settled into a crouch, then swung at Murtaugh's shoulder. Their swords met mid-air, and Eragon disengaged with a flourish, thrust and then riposte as Murtaugh parried, dancing away. "He's fast," thought Eragon. They struggled back and forth, trying to batter each other down, and after a particularly intense series of blows, Murtaugh started laughing. Not only was it impossible for either of them to gain an advantage, but they were also evenly matched. So much so that they tired at the same rate. Acknowledging with grins each other's skill, they fought on until their arms were laden and sweat poured off their sides. Finally, Eragon called, "Enough! Halt!" Murtaugh stopped in mid-blow and sat down with a gasp. Eragon staggered to the ground, his chest heaving. None of his fights with Braum had been this fierce. As he gulped air, Murtaugh exclaimed, "You're amazing! I've studied swordplay all my life, but I've never fought one like you. You could be the king's weapon master if you wanted to." "You're just as good," observed Eragon, still panting. "The man who taught you, Tornak, can make a fortune at the fencing school. People would come from all parts of Alagasia to learn from him." "He's dead," said Murtaugh shortly. "I'm sorry." And thus it became their custom to fight in the evening, which kept them lean and fit, like a pair of matched blades. With his return to health, Eragon had resumed practicing magic. Murtaugh was curious about it and soon revealed that he knew a surprising amount about how it worked, though he lacked the precise details and could not use it himself. Whenever Eragon practiced speaking in the ancient language, Murtaugh would listen quietly, occasionally asking what a word meant. On the outskirts of Gilead, they stopped the horses side by side. It had taken them nearly a month to reach it, during which time spring had finally nudged away the remnants of winter. Eragon felt himself changing during the trip, growing stronger and calmer. He still thought about Braum and spoke about him with Saphira, but for the most part, he tried not to awaken painful memories. From a distance, they could see the city was rough, barbaric place, filled with the log houses and yapping dogs. There was a rumbling stone fortress in the center. The air was hazy with blue smoke. The place seemed more like a temporary trading post than a permanent city. 5 miles beyond it was a hazy outline of Inistar Lake. They decided to camp 2 miles from the city for safety. While their dinner simmered, Murtaugh said, "I'm not sure you should be the one to go into Gilead." "Why? I can disguise myself well enough," said Eragon, and Dormanut will want to see the Gateway Ignacia as proof I'm really a rider." "Perhaps," said Murtaugh, "but the Empire wants you much more than me. If I am captured, I could eventually escape. But if you are taken, they'll drag you to the king, and you'll be in for a slow death by torture unless you join him. Plus, Gilead is one of the army's major staging points. Those aren't houses out there, those are barracks. Going in there would be like handing yourself to the king on a gilded platter." Eragon asked Saphira for her opinion, and she wrapped her tail around his legs and lay next to him. "You shouldn't have asked me. He speaks sense." There are certain words I can give him that will convince Dorminant of his truthfulness. And Myrtle's right. If anyone is to risk capture, it should be him, because he would live through it. He grimaced. I don't like you letting him put himself in danger for us. All right, you can go, he said reluctantly. But if anything goes wrong, I'm coming after you. Myrtle laughed. That would be fit for a legend. How a lone rider took on the king's army single-handedly. He chuckled again and stood. If there's anything I should know before going. Shouldn't we rest and wait till tomorrow? Asked Eragon cautiously. Why? The longer we stay here, the greater chance we'll be discovered. This Dorminant can take you to the Varden, then he needs to be found as quickly as possible. Neither of us should remain near Gilead longer than a few days. Alright, we're going to pause there for a second and let the ads run for us. Christy, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I missed you all coming in. Let me give you a toot on the raid horn before you go. And before we run ads, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Enjoy your Viking raspberries, badgers. We appreciate you all for coming in. Welcome, 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 Arthur Christie. Head to bed. And thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. And we'll take a sip. Thank you kindly. And Mama Rednax, hello and welcome in. So very glad that you could join us here in the tavern. For anyone who's coming in from the... You have a stretch to Frost too. I didn't see that come in either. Oh. Oh, gosh, my back is so stiff. Hannah, hello. Good to see you. Welcome in. Sword Talk, hello. Good to see you. Welcome in. For anyone who came in from with the badgers, I am Castle. This is my tavern. Here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a story, which is what we're doing tonight. It's our family-friendly story night, and we are in Eragon. So grab a seat, settle in, fill your glasses, and we are going to run ads for you all over on Twitch. So I apologize you're just coming in, but Twitch is going to make us do it. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. While we're paused, are you going to do all three? That's entirely up to you guys, Seamus. So the way that these story times work is over in the Discord, the guild. I run polls for everyone. The books that get on the polls are picked by the community, and the books that then are chosen for story time are picked by the community. So if you guys want to do all three or all four, however many there are in the series, then all of them will make it in. We did all of Harry Potter. We've done all of the Lord of the Rings. We've done 5 books in the Rift War Saga series by Raymond E. Feist. So it is possible to get a whole series done. Castle, I'm also a quarter done editing book 1 on round 2 of 3 or 4. It's the hardest part about writing is making sure that it's good, Matty. That's why there are so few good authors out there in the world, because the diligence and the discipline that it takes, the work it takes to write a good book, is extreme. There's a lot that has to go into it. But it will be worthwhile if you make it all the way through to the end. Sorry, friends. I was just looking at something real quick. Betty's Adventure is not exactly the same as you read it to. Well, a good story evolves, I think. Very rarely will you find a good story that was just written. I mean, you have people like Patrick Rothfuss. Everybody loves the Name of the Wind or whatever the book's name is. I haven't read it. But everyone loves the book. They say that it's a brilliant bit of literature, and he wrote it in one draft. One draft all the way through, that was it. Nothing else to it. Not all folks can do that. That is you know. Also, Patrick, I did notice that you became a supporter over on the Facebook portal. Thank you kindly, my friend. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. So a good story will evolve if it needs to. Sometimes it already evolved in your head and it was right where it is. Sometimes you just have an idea and you got to put it out on paper so that you can figure out what was this story supposed to be. And then when you get there, and the book will be better for it. But you have to make sure that you are honest with yourself about what kind of story it is, because if it's just, oh, I've got this really great idea, it's not fleshed out yet. You gotta make sure you give it time to flesh out so that it's a good story. But if it comes right out of the barrel, like you've been working on this story in your head for ages and ages and ages, yeah, just throw it out there. I just know book 2 will have less changes just because of how I put it together. I do know a few things I need to cut and alter. Thank you, Bear. Appreciate you, brother. And yeah, Matty, it's as you write more books, you're gonna have fewer revisions and fewer things that you have to do for editing. I've written a lot. I've not done any published books outside of the festivals book, but I had a long academic career before I started writing fiction. And early on, when I was writing essays, I would have to write 3, 4, 5 drafts of an essay before it was good. And then by the time I finished school, and I actually never finished, I abandoned my degree 2 semesters before I was done because I felt like it was not worthwhile to do. Which is crazy after spending all that time working up to a bachelor's degree and nearly to a master's degree. But by the time I reached the end, I was doing essays in 1 or 2 drafts, because these were 5 to 20 page essays in some cases. So I was doing these long essays. What I do know is Una are getting gifted signed copies of all my books. Well, you can let us buy copies and then you can sign them for us. I believe that if you care about somebody and their business and what they're doing for work, then you don't ask for free things. Supporting someone's business doesn't mean you show up and ask for a discount. It means you show up and you support the business. And then if the owner wants to give you something because you're a friend, that's not an entitlement. That's something that they can do. But that's how I look at it. I don't ever go to my friends' businesses and ask them to give me things. That's silly. Okay, ads are done. We're gonna get right back in, and we've got two more pages in this chapter. So go ahead and start right back off. Fair enough. I'm just offering because you guys are like brother and sister to me, and it is appreciated. But if we have the means to support something, we try to do it. Like the lady and I don't really believe in taking anything for free. Like we've been offered tons of stuff for free and even sponsorships for quite a bit of money, for things that we don't believe in and things that we know you guys wouldn't care about. So we just haven't taken them. But that again, that's just maybe we're weird. Sláinte, my friends. All right. Let us continue. Back just in time, Bear. Just in time. Ugh. Let's see, where were we? Again, wisdom flies from his mouth, commented Saphira dryly. She told Eragon what should be said to Dormnod, and she relayed the information to Murtaugh. Very well, said Murtaugh, adjusting his sword. Unless there's trouble, I'll be back within a couple of hours. Make sure there's some food left for me. With a wave of his hand, he jumped on to Tornak and rode away. Eragon sat by the fire, tapping Zarok's pommel apprehensively. Hours passed, but Murtaugh did not return. Eragon paced about the fire, Zarok in hand. while Saphira watched Gilead attentively. Only her eyes moved. Neither of them voiced their worries, though Eragon unobtrusively prepared to leave, in case a detachment of soldiers left the city and headed toward their camp. Look, snapped Saphira. Eragon swiveled toward Gilead, alert. He saw a distant horseman exit the city and ride furiously towards their camp. I don't like this, he said as he climbed onto Saphira. Be ready to fly. I'm prepared for more than that. As the rider approached, Eragon recognized Murtaugh bent low over Tornak. No one seemed to be pursuing him, but he did not slow his reckless pace. He galloped into the camp and jumped to the ground, drawing his sword. What's wrong? Asked Eragon. Murtaugh scowled. Did anyone follow me from Gilead? We didn't see anyone. Good. Then let me eat before I explain. I'm starving. He seized the bowl and began eating with gusto. After a few sloppy bites, he said through a full mouth, Dormant agrees to meet us outside Gilead at sunrise tomorrow. And if he's satisfied you're really a rider, and that it's not a trap, he'll take you to the Varden. Where are we supposed to meet him? Asked Eragon. Murtaugh pointed west, on a small hill across the road. So what happened? Murtaugh spooned more food into his bowl. It's a rather simple thing, but all the more deadly because of it. I was seen in the street by someone who knows me. I did the only thing I could and ran away, but it was too late though. He recognized me. It was unfortunate, but Eragon was unsure how bad it really was. Since I don't know your friend, I have to ask. Will he tell anyone? Murtaugh gave a strained laugh. If you had met him, that wouldn't need answering. His mouth is as loosely hinged as it hangs open all the time, vomiting whatever happens to be in his mind. The question isn't whether he will tell people, but whom he will tell. If the word of this reaches the wrong ears, we'll be in trouble. I doubt that the soldiers will be sent searching for you in the dark, Eragon pointed out. We can at least count on being safe until morning. But by then, if all goes well, we'll be leaving with Dormant. Murtaugh shook his head. No, only you will accompany him. As I said before, I won't go to the Varden. Eragon stared at him unhappily. He wanted Murtaugh to stay. They'd become friends during their travels, and he was loath to tear that apart. He started to protest, but Saphira hushed him and said gently, Wait until tomorrow. Now is not the time. Very well, he said glumly. They talked until the stars were bright in the sky, then slept as Saphira took the first watch. Eragon woke 2 hours before dawn, his palm tingling. Everything was still and quiet, but something sought his attention, like an itch in his mind. He buckled on Zarok and stood, careful not to make a sound. Saphira looked at him curiously, her large eyes bright. What is it? She asked. I don't know, said Eragon. He saw nothing amiss. Saphira sniffed the air curiously, and she hissed a little and lifted her head. I smell horses nearby, but they're not moving. They reek of an unfamiliar stench. Eragon crept to Murtaugh and shook his shoulder. Murtaugh woke with a start and yanked a dagger from under his blankets, then looked at Eragon quizzically. Eragon motioned for him to be silent, whispering, There are horses nearby. Murtaugh wordlessly drew his sword. They quietly stationed themselves on either side of Saphira, prepared for an attack. As they waited, the morning star rose in the east, and a squirrel chattered. Then an angry snarl from behind made Eragon spin around, sword high. A broad Urgle stood at the edge of the camp, carrying a mattock with a nasty spike. Where did he come from? We haven't seen their tracks anywhere, thought Eragon. The Eragon roared and waved his weapon, but did not charge. Bazinga! Barked Eragon, stabbing out with magic. The Eragon's face contorted with terror as he exploded in a flash of blue light. Blood splattered Eragon, and a brown mass flew through the air. Behind him, Saphira bulged with alarm and reared. Eragon twisted around. While he had been occupied with the first Urgle, a group of them had run up from the side. Of all the stupid tricks to fall for. Steel clashed loudly as Murtaugh attacked the Urgles. Eragon tried to join in, but was blocked by 4 of the monsters. The first one swung a sword at his shoulder. He ducked below and killed the Urgle with magic. He caught a second one in the throat with Zarok and wheeled wildly, and slashed the third one through the heart. As he did, the 4th Urgle rushed at him, swinging a heavy club. Eragon saw him coming and tried to lift his sword to block the club, but was too slow by a second. As the club came down on his head, he screamed, "Fly, Saphira!" A burst of light filled his eyes, and he lost consciousness. Written by Liv. Hello, welcome in. Right, I haven't missed anyone else, I don't think. No, I haven't, Alright, very good. And so ends the chapter. We are on now to, I think, chapter 34. And that is Du Sundavar Feor. You miss Casper, he's a ghost. The only ghost that's in here is Esther. We only have one ghost in the tavern. Du Sundavar Feor. The first thing Eragon noticed was that he was warm and dry, and his cheek was pressed against rough fabric, and his hands were unbound. He stood, but it was minutes before he was able to push himself upright and examine his surroundings. He was sitting in a cell on a narrow, bumpy cot. A barred window was set high in the wall. The iron-bound door with a small window in its top half, barred like the one in the wall, was shut securely. Dried blood cracked on Eragon's face as he moved. It took him a moment to remember that it was not his. His head hurt horribly, which was to be expected, considering the blow he had taken, and his mind was strangely fuzzy. He tried to use magic, but could not concentrate well enough to remember any of the ancient words. They must have drugged me, he finally decided. With a groan, he got up, missing the familiar weight of Zarok on his hip, and lurched to a window in the wall. He managed to see out of it by standing on his toes. It took him a minute for his eyes to adjust to the bright light outside. The window was level with the ground. A street full of busy people ran past the side of his cell, beyond which were rows of identical log houses. Feeling weak, Eragon slid to the floor and stared at it blankly. What he had seen outside disturbed him, but he was unsure why. Cursing his sluggish thinking, he leaned back, and his head tried to clear his mind. A man entered the room and set a tray of food and a pitcher of water on the cot. Wasn't that nice of him? Thought Eragon, smiling pleasantly. He took a couple of bites of the thin cabbage soup and stale bread, but was barely able to stomach it. "Oh, she brought me something better," he complained, dropping the spoon. He suddenly realized what was wrong. I was captured by Urgles, not men. How did I end up here? His befuddled brain grappled with the paradox unsuccessfully. With a mental shrug, he filed the discovery away for a time when he could know what to do with it. He sat on the cot and gazed into the distance. Hours later, more fools broke in. And I was just getting hungry, he thought thickly. This time he was able to eat without feeling sick. When he finished, he decided it was time for a nap. After all, he was on a bed. What else was he going to do? His mind drifted off, sleep began to envelop him. Then a gate clanged open somewhere, and a din of steel-shod boots marched on a stone floor. Steel-shod boots marching on a stone floor filled the air. The noise grew louder and louder until it sounded like somebody banging a pot against Eragon's head. He grumbled to himself. Can't they just let me rest in peace? Fuzzy curiosity slowly overcame his exhaustion, so he dragged himself to the door, blinking like an owl. Through the window, he saw a wide hallway nearly 10 yards across. The opposing wall was lined with cells similar to his own. A column of soldiers marched through the hall, their swords drawn and ready. Every man was dressed in matching armor, and their faces bore the same hard expression, and their feet came down on the floor in mechanical precision, never missing a beat. The sound was hypnotic. It was an impressive display of force. Eragon watched the soldiers until he grew bored, and then he noticed a break in the middle of the column. Carried between two burly men was an unconscious woman. Her long, midnight black hair obscured her face, despite a leather strip bound around her head to hold her tresses back. She was dressed in dark leather pants and a shirt. Wrapped around her slim waist was a skinny belt, from which hung an empty sheath on her hip. Knee-high boots covered her calves and small feet. Her head lolled to the side, and Eragon gasped, feeling like he had been struck in the stomach. That was the woman from his dreams. Her sculpted face was as perfect as a painting. Her round chin, high cheekbones, and long eyelashes gave her an exotic look, and the only mar on her beauty was a scrape across her jaw. Nevertheless, she was the fairest woman he'd ever seen. Eragon's blood burned as he looked at her. Something awoke in him, something he had never felt before. It was like an obsession, except stronger, almost a fevered madness. Then the woman's hair shifted, revealing pointed ears, and a chill crept over him. She was an elf. The soldiers continued to march, taking her from his side. Next strode a proud, tall man, a sable cape billowing behind him. Next, his face deathly white. His hair was red like blood. He walked by Eragon's cell, and the man turned his head and looked squarely at him with maroon eyes, his upper lip pulled back in a feral smile, revealing filed teeth. Eragon shrank back, and he knew what the man was. A shade. So help me, a shade. The procession continued, and the shade vanished from view. Eragon sank to the floor, hugging himself. Even in his bewildered state, he knew that the presence of a shade meant that evil was loose in the land. Whenever they appeared, rivers of blood were sure to follow. What is a shade doing here? The soldiers should have killed him on sight. Then his thoughts returned to the elf woman, and he gasped by strange emotions again. I have to escape. But with his mind clouded, his determination quickly faded. He returned to the cot, and by the time the hallway fell silent, he was fast asleep. As soon as Eragon opened his eyes, he knew that something was different. It was easier for him to think. He realized that he was in Gilead. They made a mistake. The drug's wearing off. Hopeful, he tried to contact Saphira and use magic, but both activities were still beyond his reach. A bit of worry twisted inside him as he wondered if she and Murtaugh had managed to escape. He stretched his arms and looked out the window. The city was just awakening and the street was empty except for two beggars. He reached for the water pitcher, ruminating about the elf and the shade. He started to drink, and he noticed the water had a faint odor. It contained a few drops of rancid perfume. Grimacing, he set the pitcher down. The drug must be in there, and maybe in the food as well. He remembered that when the Razak had drugged him, it had taken hours to wear off. If I can keep from drinking and eating for long enough, I should be able to use magic. Then I can rescue the elf. The thought made him smile. He sat in a corner, dreaming of how it could be done. The portly jailer entered the cell an hour later with a tray of food. Eragon waited until he departed, and carried the tray to the window. The meal was composed of bread, cheese, and an onion, but the smell made his stomach grumble hungrily. Resigning himself to a miserable day, he shoved the food out the window into the street, hoping that no one would notice. Eragon devoted himself to overcoming the drug's effects. He had difficulty concentrating for any length of time, but as the day progressed, his mental acuity increased. He began to remember several of the ancient words, though nothing happened when he uttered them. He wanted to scream with frustration. His lunch was delivered, and he pushed it out the window after his breakfast. His hunger was distracting, but it was the lack of water that taxed him most. The back of his throat was parched. Thoughts of drinking cool water tortured him, as each breath dried his mouth and his throat a bit more. Even so, he forced himself to ignore the pitcher. He was diverted from his discomfort by a commotion in the hall. A man argued in a loud voice. "You can't go in there! The orders were clear! No one's to see him!" "Really? Well, will you be the one to die stopping me, Captain?" cut in a smooth voice. There was a subdued, "Well, no, but the king." "I will handle the king," interrupted the second person. "Now unlock the door." After a pause, keys jangled outside Eragon's cell. He tried to adopt a languorous expression. "I have to act like I don't understand what's going on. I can't show surprise, no matter what this person says." The door opened, his breath caught, as he looked into the shade's face. It was like gazing at a death mask or a polished skull, with skin pulled over it to give the appearance of life. "Greetings," said the shade with a cold smile, showing his filed teeth. "I've waited a long time to meet you." Who are you?" asked Eragon, slurring his words. "No one of consequence," answered the shade, his maroon eyes alight with controlled menace. He sat with a flourish of his cloak. "My name does not matter to one of your position. It wouldn't mean a thing to you anyways. It's you that I'm interested in. Who are you?" The question was posed innocently enough, but Eragon knew there had to be a catch or trap in it, though it eluded him. He pretended to struggle over the question for a while, then slowly said, frowning, I'm not sure. My name's Eragon, but that's not all I am, is it?" The shade's narrow lips stretched over his mouth as he laughed sharply. "No, it isn't. You have an interesting mind, my young rider." He leaned forward. The skin of his forehead was thin and translucent. "It seems I must be more direct. What is your name?" "No! Not that one!" The shade cut him off with a wave of his hand. "Don't you have another one? One that you use only rarely?" "He wants my true name so he can control me," realized Eragon. "But I can't tell him. I don't even know it myself." He thought quickly, trying to invent a deception that would conceal his ignorance. What if I made up a name? He hesitated. It could easily give him away. then raced to create a name that would withstand scrutiny. As he was about to utter it, he decided to take a chance and try to scare the shade. He deftly switched a few letters, then nodded foolishly and said, Brom told it to me once. It was. He paused and stretched for a few seconds, and then his face brightened as he appeared to remember. It was the Sundevar Freyor, which meant almost literally death of the shadows. A grim chill settled over the cell as the shade sat motionless, eyes veiled. He seemed to be deep in thought, pondering what he had learned. Eragon wondered if he had dared too much. He waited until the shade stood before asking ingeniously, Why are you here? The shade looked at him with contempt in his red eyes and smiled. To gloat, of course. What use is a victory if one cannot enjoy it? There was confidence in his voice, but he seemed uneasy, as if his plans had been disrupted. He stood suddenly. I must attend to certain matters, and while I am gone, you would do well to think on who you would rather serve. A rider who betrayed your own, or a fellow man like me, though one skilled in arcane arts. When the time comes to choose, there will be no middle ground. He turned to leave, then glanced at Eragon's water pitcher. And stopped, his face granite hard. Captain! He snapped. The broad-shouldered man rushed into the sail, sword in hand. What is it, my lord? He asked, alarmed. Put that toy away, instructed the shade. He turned to Eragon and said in a deadly quiet voice, The boy hasn't been drinking his water. Why is that? I talked with the jailer earlier. Every bowl and plate has been scraped clean. Very well, said the shade, mollified. But make sure that he starts drinking again. He leaned toward the captain and murmured into his ear. Eragon caught the last few words. Extra dose, just in case. The captain nodded, and the shade returned his attention to Eragon. We will talk again tomorrow when I am not so pressed for time. You should know I have an endless fascination for names, and I will greatly enjoy discussing yours in much greater detail. The way he gave Eragon... said it gave Eragon a sinking feeling. Once they left, he lay on the cot and closed his eyes. Brom's lessons proved their worth now. He relied on them to keep himself from panicking and to reassure himself. Everything has been provided for me. I only have to take advantage of it. His thoughts were interrupted by the sound of approaching soldiers. Apprehensive, he went to the door and saw 2 soldiers dragging the oaf down the hallway. When he could see her no more, Eragon slumped to the floor and tried a touch of magic again. Oaths flew from his lips when it eluded his grasp. He looked out into the city and ground his teeth. It was only mid-afternoon. Taking a calm breath, he tried to wait patiently. And so ends chapter, 35 of Eragon. Bolus the Barbarian! Hello and welcome in, my friends. Oh, very good to see you. Let's get you a toot on the raid horn. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. The barbarians have joined us, enjoying your Viking raspberries there, my friend. So very glad you could drop in. What were you all up to this fine evening? Let's see, we are 2 hours in. We've got 30 minutes left on before we have to run ads again. I think we can probably get in another chapter. What do you guys think? Think we can squeeze another one in before the end? Sounds like a plan. All right, let's do it. I think we'll probably go till we'll go till 9:45. Do a couple of songs and then we'll end. Welcome into the barbarian raiding party that dropped by. Bolus, thank you for the raid, my friend. And to anyone who does not know me, I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a bedtime story. This is what we're doing tonight. We are in the midst of Eragon. I think we can manage one more chapter before the end. Yeah. Next chapter is about 10 pages. We should be able to get through all of that. Oop, what did I do? I flipped backwards by accident. Did we name 2 chapters the exact same? We did not. Alright. Fighting Shadows. It was dark in Eragon's cell when he sat up with it stars, electrified. The wrinkle had shifted. He had felt the magic at the edge of his consciousness for hours, but every time he tried to use it, nothing happened. Eyes bright, with nervous energy, he clenched his hand and said, Nag Zeresia. With a flap, the cot's blankets flew into the air and crumpled into a ball the size of his fist. It landed on the floor with a soft thump. Exhilarated, Eragon stood. He was weak from his enforced fast, but his excitement overcame his hunger. Now for the real test. He reached out with his mind and felt the lock in the door. Instead of trying to break or cut it, he simply pushed its internal mechanisms into the unlock position. With a click, the door creaked inward. When he had first used magic to kill Urgles and Yazuak, it had consumed nearly all his strength, but he'd grown much stronger since then. What once would have exhausted him now only tired him slightly. He cautiously stepped into the hall. I have to find Zelrock and the elf. She must be in one of these cells. But there isn't time to look in all of them. As for Zelrock, the Shade might have it with him. He realized that his thinking was still muddled. Why am I out here? I could escape right now if I went back into the cell and opened the window in magic. But then I wouldn't be able to rescue the elf. Saphira, where are you? I need your help. He silently berated himself for not contacting her sooner. That should have been the first thing he did after getting his power back. Her reply came with surprising alacrity. Eragon, I'm over Gilead. Don't do anything, Murtaugh is on the way. What are you... Footsteps interrupted him. He spun around, crouching as the squad of 6 soldiers marched into the hall. They halted abruptly, eyes flicking between Eragon and the open cell door, and blood drained from their faces. Good. They know who I am. Maybe I can scare them off so we won't have to fight. Charge! Yelled one of the soldiers, running forward. The rest of the men drew their blades and pounded down the hall. It was madness to fight 6 men when he was unarmed and weak, but the thought of the elf kept him in place. He could not force himself to abandon her. Uncertain if the effort would leave him standing, he pulled his power to his hand, the gateway Ignacia glowing. Fear showed in the soldiers' eyes, and if they were hardened warriors, they did not slow. As Eragon opened his mouth to pronounce the fatal words, there was a low buzz, a flicker of motion. One of the men crashed to the floor with an arrow in his back. 2 more were struck before anyone understood what was happening. At the end of the hall where the soldiers had entered stood a ragged, bearded man with a bow. A crutch lay on the floor by his feet, apparently unneeded, as he stood tall and straight. The 3 remaining soldiers turned to face the new threat. Eragon took advantage of the confusion. "Prista!" he shouted, and one of the men clutched his chest and fell. Eragon staggered as the magic took its toll, and another soldier fell, pierced in the neck by an arrow. "Don't kill him!" called Eragon, seeing his rescuer take aim at the last soldier. The bearded man lowered his bow, and Eragon concentrated on the soldier before him. The man was breathing hard, the whites of his eyes showed. He seemed to understand that his life was being spared. "You've seen what I can do," said Eragon harshly. "If you don't answer my questions, the rest of your life will be spent in utter misery and torment. Now where's my sword? Its sheath and blade are red. And what cell is the elf in?" The man clamped his mouth shut. Eragon's palm glowed ominously as he reached for the magic. "That was the wrong answer," he snapped. "Do you know how much pain a grain of sand can cause? If it's embedded red hot in your stomach, especially when it doesn't cool off for the next 20 years and slowly burns its way down to your toes. By the time it gets out of you, you'll be an old man." He paused for effect. "Unless you tell me what I want." The soldier's eyes bulged, but he remained silent. Eragon scraped some dirt off the stone floor and observed it dispassionately. "This is a bit more than a piece of sand, but be comforted. It'll burn through you faster. Still, it'll leave a bigger hole." At his word, the dirt shone cherry red, and though it did not burn in his hand. All right, don't put that in me," yelped the soldier. "The elf is in the last cell on the left, and I don't know about your sword, but it's probably upstairs in the guard room. All upstairs. All the weapons are there." Eragon nodded and then murmured, "Slither." And the soldier's eyes rolled up into his head and he collapsed limply. "Did you kill him?" Eragon looked at the stranger, who was now only a few paces away. He narrowed his eyes, trying to see past the beard. "Murtaugh, is that you?" he exclaimed. "Yes," said Murtaugh, briefly lifting the beard from his shaven face. "I don't want my face seen. Did you kill him?" "No, he's only asleep. How did you get in?" "There's no time to explain. We have to get up to the next floor before anyone finds us. There'll be an escape route for us in a few minutes. I don't want to miss it." "Didn't you hear what I said?" said Eragon, gesturing at the unconscious soldier. "There's an elf in prison. I saw her. We have to rescue her, and I need your help." An elf?" Murtaugh hurried down the hall, growling. "That's a mistake. We should flee while we have the chance." He stopped before the cell the soldier had indicated and produced a ring of keys from under his ragged cloak. "I took it from one of the guards," he explained. Eragon motioned for the keys. Murtaugh shrugged and handed them to him. Eragon found the right one and swung the door. A single beam of light slanted over the window and illuminating the elf's face with cool silver. She faced him, tense and coiled, ready for whatever happened next. She held her head high with a queen's demeanor, her eyes dark and green, almost black, and slightly angled like a cat's, lifted to Eragon's. Chills shot through him. Their gaze held for a moment, and then the elf trembled and collapsed soundlessly. Eragon barely caught her before she struck the floor. She was surprisingly light. The aroma of freshly crushed pine needles surrounded her. Murtaugh entered the cell. "She's beautiful, but hard. We can tend her later. Are you strong enough to carry her?" Eragon shook his head. "Then I'll do it." And Murtaugh as he slung the elf across his shoulders. "Now, upstairs!" He handed Eragon a dagger, then hurried back into the hall littered with soldiers' bodies. With heavy footsteps, Murtaugh led Eragon up the stone-hewn staircase at the end of the hall. As they climbed it, Eragon asked, "How are we going to get out of here without being noticed?" "We're not," grunted Murtaugh. That did not allay Eragon's fears. He listened anxiously for soldiers, for anyone else who might be nearby, dreading what might happen if they met the shade. At the head of the stairs was a banquet room filled with broad wooden tables. Shields lined the walls, and the wood ceiling was trussed with curved beams. Matar laid the elf on a table and looked up at the ceiling worriedly. Can you talk to Saphira for me? Yes. Tell her to wait another 5 minutes. There were shouts in the distance, and soldiers marched past the entrance to the banquet hall. Eragon's mouth tightened with pent-up tension. What are you planning to do? What are you planning to do? I don't think we have much time. Just tell her. Stay out of sight, snapped Murtaugh, running off. As Eragon relayed the message, he was alarmed to hear men coming up the stairs. Fighting hunger and exhaustion, he dragged the elf off the table and hid her beneath it. He crouched next to her, holding his breath, tightly clenching the dagger. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate you. And Porky, thank you for becoming a member over on YouTube. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. What is the what pops when you become a member? I don't actually know. If anything does. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think that any of the alerts or anything are working. I'm gonna have to fix everything because it seems like everything's broken. Ten soldiers entered the room and they swept through it hurriedly, looking under only a couple of tables and continued on their way. Eragon leaned against the table leg, sighing. The respite made him suddenly aware of his burning stomach and parched throat. A tankard and a plate of half-eaten food on the other side of the room caught his attention. Eragon dashed from his hiding place, grabbed the food, and then scurried back under the table. There was amber beer in the tankard. He drank 2 great gulps. Relief seeped through him as the cool liquid ran down his throat, soothing the irritated tissue. He suppressed a belch before ravenously tearing into a hunk of bread. Murtaugh returned, carrying Zarok and a strange bow and an elegant sword within a sheath. Murtaugh gave Zarok to Eragon. I found the other sword and bow in the guard's room. I've never seen weapons like them, so I assumed they were the elves. Let's find out, said Eragon with a mouthful of bread. The sword, slim and light with a curved crossguard, and the ends of which narrowed into points, fit in the elf's sheath perfectly. There was no way to tell if the bow was hers, but it was shaped so gracefully he doubted it was anyone else's. What now? He asked, cramming another bite of food into his mouth. We can't stay here forever. Sooner or later the soldiers will find us. Now, said Murtaugh, taking out his own bow and fitting an arrow to the string. We wait. Like I said, I arranged our escape. You don't understand. There's a shade here. If he finds us, we're doomed. A shade? Exclaimed Murtaugh. In that case, tell Saphira to come immediately. We were going to wait until the watch changed, but delaying even that long is too dangerous now. Eragon relayed the message succinctly, refraining from distracting Saphira with questions. You messed up my plans by escaping yourself, growled Murtaugh, watching the room's entrance for soldiers. Eragon smiled. In that case, perhaps I should have waited. Your timing was perfect, though. I wouldn't have been able to even crawl if I'd been forced to fight those soldiers with magic. Glad to be of some use, remarked Murtaugh. He stiffened as they heard men running nearby. Let's just hope the shade doesn't find us. A cold chuckle filled the banquet room. I'm afraid it's far too late for that. Murtaugh and Eragon spun around. The shade stood alone at the end of the room, in his hand a pale sword with a thin scratch on the blade. He unclasped the brooch that held his cape in place and let the garment fall to the floor. His body was like a runner's, thin and compact, but Eragon remembered Brom's warning and knew that a shade's appearance was deceiving. So, my young rider, do you wish to test yourself against me? Sneered the shade. I shouldn't have trusted the captain when he said you ate all your food. I will not make that mistake again. I'll take care of him, said Murtaugh quietly, putting down his bow and drawing his sword. No, said Eragon under his breath. He wants me alive, not you. I can store him for a short while. But you'd better have a way out for us. Fine, go, said Murtaugh. You won't have to hold him off for long. I hope not, said Eragon grimly. He drew Zorok and slowly advanced. The red blade glinted with light from the torches on the wall. The shade's maroon eyes burned with coals. He laughed softly. Do you think you could defeat me, Dusan Davad Feodor? What a pitiful name. I would have expected something more subtle from you, but I suppose that's all you're capable of. Eragon refused to let himself be goaded. He stared at the shade's face, waiting for a flicker of his eyes or a twitch of his lips. Anything that would betray his next move. I can't use magic for fear of provoking him to do the same. He has to think he can win without resorting to it, which he probably can. Before either of them moved, the ceiling boomed and shook. Dust billowed from it and turned the air grey, with pieces of wood that fell all around them, scattering on the floor. From the roof came screams and the sound of clashing metal. Afraid of being brained by the falling timber, Eragon flicked his eyes upward. The shade took advantage of his distraction and attacked. Eragon barely managed to get Zorok up in time to block the slash at his ribs. Their blades met with a clang that jarred his teeth and numbed his arm. Hellfire, he's strong. He grasped Zorok with both hands and swung with all his might at the shade's head. The shade blocked him with ease, whipping his sword through the air faster than Eragon thought possible. Terrible screeches sounded above them like iron spikes being drawn across rocks. 3 long cracks split the ceilings. Shingles from the slate roof fell through the fissures. Eragon ignored them even though one smashed to the floor next to him. Though he had trained with the master of the blade, Brom, and with Murtaugh, who was also a deadly swordsman, he had never been this outclassed. The shade was playing with him. Eragon retreated towards Murtaugh, arms trembling as he parried the shade's blows. Each one seemed more powerful than the last. Eragon was no longer strong enough to call upon magic for help, even though he had wanted to. Then, with a contemptuous flick of his wrist, the shade knocked Zorok out of Eragon's hand, and force of the blow sent him to his knees, where he stayed, panting. The screeching was louder now. Whatever was happening, it was getting closer. The shade stared down at him haughtily. A powerful piece of you may be in the game that... powerful piece you may be in the game... A powerful piece you may be in the game that is being played. And I am disappointed that this is your best. If other riders were this weak, they must have controlled the Empire only through sheer numbers. Eragon looked up and shook his head. He had figured out Murtaugh's plan. Saphira, now would be a good time. No, you forget something. And what might that be? Asked the shade mockingly. There was a thunderous reverberation as a chunk of the ceiling was torn away to reveal the night sky. Dragons! Roared Eragon over the noise, and threw himself out of the shade's reach. The shade snarled in rage, swinging his sword viciously. He missed with a lunge. Surprise spread across his face as one of Murtaugh's arrows sprouted from his shoulder. The shade laughed and snapped the arrow off with 2 fingers. You'll have to do better than that if you want to stop me. The next arrow caught him between the eyes. The shade howled with agony and writhed, covering his face. His skin turned grey, mist formed in the air, obscuring his figure. There was a shattering cry, and then the cloud vanished. Where the shade had been, nothing was left but his cape and a pile of clothes. "You killed him!" exclaimed Eragon. He knew of only 2 heroes of legend who had survived slaying a shade. "I'm not so sure," said Murtaugh. A man shouted. "That's it! He failed! Go in and get him!" The soldiers with nets and spears poured into the banquet room. From both ends, Eragon and Murtaugh backed up against the wall, dragging the elf with them. The men formed a half circle around them, and then Saphira stuck her head in the hole in the ceiling. Roaring, she gripped the edge of the opening with her powerful talons and ripped off another large section of the ceiling. 3 soldiers turned and ran, but the rest held their positions. With a resounding report, the center beam of the ceiling cracked and rained down heavy shingles. Confusion scattered the ranks as they tried to dodge the deadly barrage. Eragon and Murtaugh pressed against the wall to avoid the falling debris. Saphira roared again, and the soldiers fled, some getting crushed on the way. With a final titanic effort, Saphira tore off the rest of the ceiling before jumping into the banquet hall with her wings folded. Her weight splintered the table with a sharp crunch. Crying out with relief, Eragon threw his arms around her, and she hummed contentedly. "I've missed you, little one." "Same here. There's someone else with us. Can you carry 3? "Of course," she said, kicking shingles and tables out of the way so she could take off. Murtaugh and Eragon pulled the elf out of hiding, and Saphira hissed in surprise as she saw her. "An elf?" "Yes, the woman I saw in my dreams," said Eragon, picking up Zorok. He helped Murtaugh secure the elf to the settle, and then both of them climbed on to Saphira. "I heard fighting on the roof. Are there men up there?" "There were, but no more. Are you ready?" "Yes." Saphira leapt out of the banquet hall and onto the fortress roof. There were bodies of watchmen lay scattered. "Look!" said Murtaugh, pointing. Rows of archers filled a tower on the other side of the roofless hall. "Saphira, you have to take off now," warned Eragon. She unfurled her wings and ran towards the edge of the building and propelled them over it with powerful legs. The extra weight on her back made her drop alarmingly. As she struggled to gain altitude, Eragon heard a musical twang of bowstrings being released. Arrows whizzed towards them in the dark. Saphira roared with pain as she was struck, and quickly rolled to the left to avoid the next volley. More arrows perforated the sky, but the night protected them from the shaft's deadly bite. Distressed, Eragon bent over Saphira's neck. "Where are you hurt?" "My wings are pierced. One of the arrows didn't go all the way through. It's still there." Her breathing was labored and heavy. "How far can you take us?" "Far enough." Eragon clutched the elf tightly as they skimmed over Gilead, then left the city behind and veered eastward, soaring upward through the night. And so ends chapter, I believe, 36 of Eragon. What a legend. Andrea says, "I just got home from work and see this. I'm so excited. That accent is just heavenly." Welcome in, Andre. And Andre, very good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Eric Polston. Numbers. Next chapter, Yell the Book. Tolkien. Slash that over. Eric, welcome in. I appreciate the hype. That's Sláinte, my friends. And we are ending up just in time. Look at that. Spectacular. So, for anyone who is new here, who's never been a part of Storytime before, I'm Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. Every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight, we were reading Eragon. It's our family-friendly night. I needed this tonight after a long day at work. Well, Hannah, I'm glad that you were able to make it. It's always lovely to see you, always lovely to have you. Thursday night, we also do story time, but then is a more adult book, a little bit more intense, a little bit more violence and whatnot. No, there's a lot of fighting in Eragon, so it's not like it's not without its dreads. But at the end of every story time, we sing songs. So, if this is your first time in, I want to warn you, we don't sing well. We sing to enjoy ourselves. And that is really... So we're going to have to run ads one more time. We're all out of snoozes over on Twitch. So if you're over on Twitch, we're going to have to run ads one more time. Then we're going to sing some songs, and then I'll send you all off. I think I've got the energy in me for two songs. So we'll get 2 done. But for now, we're going to run 3 minutes. I apologize. We don't sing well. We sing to have a good time. Damn right, Tyson. Damn right. And the bear requests the Irish pub song. I think that's a wonderful request, Bear. I think we can do that. Do we have one more request? My love, do you have a request? Tyson requests Valhalla Calling. We haven't done Valhalla Calling in a while. We can scare off all the new people with Valhalla Calling. Yeah. Yeah, Anne Bonny is definitely more of a song for the lady, that's for sure. I don't know if I can get that high.
You would have to sing it completely differently.
Doesn't mean you can't do it, though, she says. I'm going to take my leave at this time. Castle, thank you for the much-needed story. I'll return on Thursday. Have a family, rest well, and be safe. Frost, before you go, I would like to raise a glass to your father, if you don't mind. If it's all right for me to bring that up during story time, and share with everyone what. All right. So our dear friend and barkeep, the Frostbeard, has lost his father this last week. And it was a bit of a mercy. It's always difficult when friends and family are suffering. But regardless, a good man was lost to us, and now we carry his stories and his song with us. So I would like to raise a glass to Frostbeard, Chad's father. And take a moment of silence. I would like this to be a celebration of his life with his toast, and I agree that is what every time we lose someone we love, it should be a celebration of life. So Sláinte in a moment of silence, my friends, for an incredible man. And we drink it down to there. This is my first time, and I appreciate your hard work and willingness to share such rich culture. It's our pleasure to do so, Andrea. And Andrea says her deepest sympathies to you, Frost. And I know we don't have the mixed chart is not up. I'm not sure what's wrong and why it's not working, but I do apologize. I'll get that fixed this week so that we have it for Thursday. And with that, friends, now we'll carry on to some song. As a matter of fact, we'll dedicate the Irish pub song and Valhalla Calling tonight to the Frostbeard's father. So let's go ahead and do that. You can go off to bed, Frost. We're gonna sing in honor of your dad. All right, my friends, here we go. The Irish pub song, if you've never seen it before. Well, you're walking through a city street, you could be in Peru, when you hear a distant calling and you know it's meant for you. Then you drop what you are doing, and you join the merry mob, and before you know just where you are, you're in an Irish pub. They got one in Honolulu, they got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. And whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now, the design is fairly simple, and it usually works the same. You'll have Razor Houghton scoring in the Ireland-England game, and you know you're in an Irish pub the minute you're in the door. For a couple of boys with boards will be murdering Christy Moore. They got one in Honolulu, they got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now the owner is Norwegian, and the manager comes from Cork. And the lad who's holding up the bar, is his only age is work. He was born and bred in Bolton, but his mummy's from Kildare. He's going to make his fortune soon and move to County Clare. They got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now it's time for me to go, I have to catch me train. So leave you sitting at the bar to face the wind and rain. But I'll have that pint you owe me, if I'm not done on the dry, when we meet next week in Frankfurt in the fields of Athenry. They got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. You did just murder Chrissy Moore, if only his name. They got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Oh, wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Thank you, my friends. Absolutely lovely to sing with you. Now, for any of you who are new, this next one, we're going to sing Valhalla Calling. And we do it a little bit differently. Now, if you don't know what Valhalla Calling is, do you know his song Ride On? Yes, I think so, Bear. I sang this on the way home on my DKM channel. So Valhalla Calling is a very popular song. It was made popular, or was made by Miracle of Sound, popularized through like TikTok and so on. The version of the song that we do is a little bit different. We sing the chorus regularly, or we sing the verses regularly, but the chorus we sing in a unique way. We do throat singing, or what can be called druid singing, for the centaurs, and it's been known to irritate some folk, it grates on some folk, and it has been known to cause disruptions of the lymphatic system, of the circulatory system. It's been known to cause spontaneous bleeding, spontaneous abduction and flight. It has also been known to cause spontaneous pregnancy. So if you are here in the tavern, you will now consent to hearing us sing the Valhalla Calling version that we do here in the tavern. And any bleeding from the ears, any peeling of the skin, any spontaneous pregnancies, we cannot be held responsible, and we will not be held responsible for. We take no accountability for these things happening. So, let us go ahead and get right into it. Ships on the vigor of the waves are skimming, bearing summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning. Rise and reign. Far from the fjords and the ice cold currents, ravens soar over new frontiers, songs and sagas of a fate determined, shields and spears. Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder, pull together for the clan and kin, clank of hammers and the crash of thunder. pound within. And this way, cover your ears if you need to. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Sails are swaying on the crimson rivers, blood and glory in the fighting fields. Shields are shattered into splintered timbers, iron and steel. Fires are rising and the bells are ringing. Glory, take us into Odin's hall. Golden glimmer and the sound of singing. As God's call. Wolf! Hello, my friend. You made it just in time for the end. Plug your ears. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Thank you for the song, my friends. Absolutely lovely to sing with you all. And now that we've scared off all of the new folk, I will leave you all here, my friend. If you're over on the Twitch portal, we will raid out to share the love, but for everyone else, this is where we part for the night. It has been a joy being your storyteller for the evening, my friends. We appreciate all of the love and support that you give to the lady and I. Thank you to our wonderful barkeeps, to old friends and new. Thank you all for being here. It has been an exceptional time serving you, but now we must part. And while that is sad, we will all join again the very next time that you seek a story. So until then, my friends, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty, and we will see you next time. Good night, my friends.
Tears in my eyes. Snow on the heather, smoke from the roofs. I stand on the ridgeline, breathing in my hair.